Revenge office stories. My coworker tried to delete my entire professional existence with the click of a button. She really thought she'd won. She thought she could erase years of my hard work, my creativity, and my identity within our company, all out of pure venomous spite. She just stood by, watching my world come crashing down, offering fake sympathy with a smug little smile she couldn't quite hide. But what she didn't know was that while she was busy trying to delete my past, I was about to delete her future. This isn't just a story about getting even. It's a story about how being meticulous, being prepared, and being underestimated can be the most powerful tools you have. She wanted to erase me, but in the end, the only thing that got erased was her career, her reputation, and any hope she had of working in our industry ever again. To really get the audacity of her betrayal, you need to picture the world we were in. I was a 30-year-old senior project manager at a high-flying, cutthroat digital marketing agency. The kind of place where you live and breathe campaigns, your portfolio is your lifeblood, and the next big project can make or break you. I was good at my job. Not just good, I was exceptional. I was the person they gave the impossible projects to, the one who could juggle a dozen chaotic pieces and still deliver something flawless. My secret wasn't genius. It was an obsession with details. I was a planner, a list maker, a person who lived by the mantra, hope for the best, but prepare for the absolute worst. It was a trait that had always served me well, but I had no idea it was about to save my career. And then there was Brenda. On the org chart, Brenda and I were peers. In reality, we were worlds apart. She was about 10 years older than me and had been with the company since the early days. She had this air of unearned seniority, like her tenure alone entitled her to respect she never actually earned. In the years I'd been at the firm, I had been promoted twice. Brenda had been in the exact same role the entire time. She watched me climb, her smiles getting tighter, her compliments more backhanded. She was the queen of passive aggression. She'd offer to help on a project, only to deliver her part late and create a fire drill for everyone else. She'd compliment me in a meeting, but in a way that subtly undermined me, saying something like, "It's so great you're finally getting the hang of these complex accounts," even though I'd been managing them for years. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts, and I learned early on to keep her at a polite, professional distance. I knew she was resentful, but I drastically underestimated how deep that resentment ran. I saw her as an annoyance, a hazard to be managed. I never saw her as a real threat. That was my first mistake. The stage for all this drama was the Apex project. That was its internal code name, and it was the biggest account our agency had ever landed. We're talking a global rebranding for a household name, a multi-million-dollar contract, a campaign that would be seen by hundreds of millions. It was a legacy project, and I was the lead. For 2 years, I had poured my soul into it. Late nights, weekends, endless strategy sessions, it was my masterpiece. The project files were a universe in themselves, stored on the company's shared server as a digital monument to 2 years of my life. The final presentation to the client's global board was scheduled. The success of this one meeting would mean a massive bonus and a vice president title for me, and it would solidify our agency's spot as an industry leader for the next decade. The stakes couldn't have been higher, and as we went into the final week, the energy in the office was electric. I was on top of the world, and Brenda was watching. That final week was a blur of caffeine and adrenaline. I was in my element, conducting the orchestra of chaos. On Thursday, the day before we broke for the weekend, our CEO did a walkthrough of the final presentation. He was ecstatic. In front of the whole department, he stopped by my desk and announced the work was paradigm shifting and that I was a rock star. He clapped me on the shoulder and told me to get some rest, because Monday was going to be my victory lap. It was an incredible moment. But as I looked up from my desk, my eyes met Brenda's. She was forcing a smile, but her eyes were like chips of ice. It was a look of pure, undiluted venom. At that moment, something in her just snapped. The public praise, the CEO basically anointing me, it was all too much for her to take. About an hour before we were all supposed to leave for the weekend, Brenda came over to my desk. Her entire demeanor had changed. The icy glare was gone, replaced by the syrupy, almost disturbingly sweet smile. "Hey," she said, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. "That was amazing what the boss said. You totally deserve it." I was immediately on guard, but kept my tone neutral. "Thanks, Brenda. We've all worked hard." "Of course," she said, waving a dismissive hand. "Listen, I know you're swamped. I was just tidying up some old files on the server and noticed the Apex folder is a bit of a mess. Since I'm wrapping up, why don't I do a quick cleanup for you? Just archive the old versions, make sure the final deck is front and center. My little contribution to the big win." Looking back, the alarm bells should have been deafening. Why, after 2 years of showing zero interest, was she suddenly so eager to help with the most critical files at the 11th hour? But I was exhausted. My brain was fried. I just wanted to go home. Her offer sounded on the surface helpful. Sure, Brenda." "Thanks," I said, already packing my bag. "Just be careful. Everything in the final _ presentation subfolder is locked and ready. Don't touch that. Just archive the old draft folders." "You got it, boss," she chirped with a little mock salute. "I'll make it sparkle for you." I grabbed my coat, gave her a quick nod, and headed out. I felt a tiny, nagging sense of unease, but I was too tired to listen to it. I pushed the feeling down, chalking it up to pre-presentation jitters. I walked out of that office, completely oblivious to the fact that I'd just handed the saboteur the keys to the kingdom. Monday morning, I got into the office early, ready for a final, peaceful hour to review everything. I made coffee, sat down at my desk, took a deep breath, and navigated to the company server. I clicked on the client's drive, then the brand folder, and then Apex_global_brand. My heart started beating a little faster. I double-clicked the folder, and my world just stopped. It was empty. The folder itself was there, but inside, where there should have been thousands of files, there was just nothing. White space, a digital void. My first thought was that it had to be a glitch, a network error. I hit refresh. Nothing. I backed out and went back in. Still nothing. A cold, suffocating dread started to creep up my spine. I started frantically clicking around, using the search function. No items match your search. No. This couldn't be happening. I checked the network drive's recycle bin, praying I'd see a long list of our files. The recycle bin was also empty, an intentionally, spotlessly empty recycle bin. The cold dread turned into a full-blown wave of ice water panic. My breath caught in my chest. My hands started to shake. This wasn't a glitch. This was targeted. And then the memory of Thursday afternoon came crashing back. Brenda, her sickeningly sweet smile. Asterisk, why don't I do a quick cleanup for you? Asterisk, her mock salute. Asterisk, I'll make it sparkle for you. Asterisk, it was her. It had to be. The realization didn't bring clarity, just a surge of nauseating, helpless rage. She had done this, deliberately. My hands are trembling, so badly I could barely use the mouse. I called IT, my voice a tight whisper. I need someone up here right now. It's an emergency. A junior tech named Leo came up. I explained the situation, my voice cracking. He sat down and started running diagnostics, checking server logs, looking for shadow copies. After 20 minutes of frantic typing, he turned to me, his face pale. I don't know what to say, he stammered. The files are gone. Completely. The logs show a mass delete command was executed on the folder Thursday evening at 5:47 p.m. Then the server's master recycle bin was emptied a minute later. And then it looks like some kind of data wiping script was run. There's nothing to recover. It's like it was never there. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. His words hit me like punches. A data wiping script. This wasn't a simple drag and drop to the trash. This was a calculated, premeditated act of digital assassination. My presentation was in less than 3 hours, and I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. The project was dead. My career was dead. Brenda had won. I thanked Leo, my voice hollow. I just sat there, staring at the empty folder. The panic and rage faded into a crushing despair. I put my head in my hands, feeling the utter devastation. And then, through the fog, a single, tiny spark. A memory. Me, 6 months ago, after a minor server outage made us lose half a day's work. I remembered the vow I made to myself. Asterisk, never again. Never let my work be at the mercy of a single point of failure. Asterisk. My head snapped up. My paranoia. My obsession. My meticulous nature. I didn't trust the cloud. I didn't trust the company server. I didn't trust anything. I didn't have a physical copy of myself. My heart gave a powerful thump. Hope. I slowly opened my laptop bag. My hands were still shaking, but now with adrenaline. I bypassed the chargers and notebooks, and my fingers closed around a small, cool, metallic object. A 2 terabyte, solid-state external drive. My personal drive. You see, I had a system. A 3-layer backup protocol I ran myself. Layer 1 was this SSD. Every single night, I ran a script that mirrored the entire Apex project folder onto this drive. Layer 2 was my own personal cloud subscription with version backups, meaning I could roll back to any point in time. Layer 3 was an old-school hard drive I kept at my apartment. Brenda had executed a brilliant, vicious attack on the company server, but she didn't know she had only destroyed the public copy. She hadn't even touched my real files. The relief was so immense, it almost brought me to my knees. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. As the relief washed over me, it was followed by a chilling, clarifying calm. Cold, hard, and sharp as a diamond. She tried to ruin me. Just restoring the files and saying, I had a backup, would be a victory, sure. But it wouldn't be justice. She'd claim it was a terrible accident. HR would give her a warning. No, that wasn't enough. This wasn't amateur hour revenge. This was professional revenge. A plan began to form, beautiful in its simplicity. Step 1. Play the victim. I couldn't let anyone know I had the files. Not yet. I needed Brenda to feel safe and triumphant. I stood up, composed my face into a mask of pure devastation, and went to my boss's office. Mark, I said, my voice trembling, something terrible has happened. The next hour was an acting masterclass. I confessed the situation. My boss went white. We went to the CEO, who turned a shade of purple I'd never seen before. Panic. An emergency meeting was called. I sat in the corner of the boardroom, playing the part of the broken, defeated project lead. Across the room, I saw Brenda putting on her own performance of faux concern. She even came over and put a hand on my arm. Oh my God, this is horrible, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I just looked at her, my eyes welling up with fake tears, and shook my head. It took every ounce of my willpower not to smile. Step 2. Gather the evidence. While the office was in chaos, I met a friend for a distraught lunch break. He's a cybersecurity analyst who specializes in digital forensics. I laid out the whole story. He got this grim little smile on his face. She used a wiping script, he asked, his eyes lighting up. Oh, she's toast. That's not an accident. That's intent. We didn't need to recover the data. I had it. We needed indisputable proof. He told me exactly what logs to ask IT for, phrasing it like a standard part of their disaster investigation. Back at the office, feigning a desperate attempt to help, I made the request to the head of IT. He was so preoccupied with the meltdown he granted me read-only access without a second thought. I immediately sent the encrypted log files to my friend. An hour later, I got an email. It was a password-protected PDF. The password was gotcha. The report was a thing of beauty, a step-by-step digital indictment. It showed Brenda's user credentials logging in from her workstation at 5:47 p.m. It showed her navigating directly to the Apex folder. It showed the delete command. It showed the command to empty the network recycle bin. And the kicker, it showed a connection to an external IP from which the wiping utility was downloaded, executed, and then deleted. The IP was from a public VPN, but the initial download request was logged to her user profile. It was the digital equivalent of a signed confession. I had the weapon, the ammunition, and the motive. Now I just needed the right stage to pull the trigger. All right, we're getting to the good part, the part where it all blows up in her face. If you're enjoying this story, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel and lets me know you want more pro-revenge stories just like this one. Okay, let's get back to it. Step 3. Setting the trap. The presentation was officially canceled. The client was furious, but gave us 48 hours to salvage what we could. That afternoon, I went back to the CEO. My voice was shaky. I think I might have something, I said, sounding uncertain. I sometimes back up files to a drive I take home. It's not protocol, I know. It's probably a few weeks old, but maybe I can piece together a skeleton of the presentation from it. The CEO seized on this tiny sliver of hope. Whatever it takes, he said. Do it. This gave me the official cover to miraculously pull the project back from the dead, while keeping the pressure on high so Brenda would feel certain her plan had worked. The company thought I was holed up, frantically rebuilding a 2-year project from scraps. In reality, I was calmly preparing for the greatest presentation of my life. I took the pristine, complete project files from my SSD. I loaded the final presentation onto a thumb drive, but I also created a second presentation, a much shorter, much more brutal one. I embedded the forensic report. I took screenshots of the critical log entries, highlighting them in bright red. I crafted a timeline of events. I titled this second presentation, Project Integrity and Data Security, a real-time case study. I went back to the CEO. I did it, I said, feigning exhaustion. I think I have enough. Relief washed over his face. He rescheduled the meeting with the client for the next morning and sent out a company-wide email. Thanks to an extraordinary effort from our project lead, we have recovered the Apex presentation. The meeting is back on for 10 a.m. tomorrow. I can only imagine the jolt of ice-cold fear Brenda must have felt reading that. But she'd assume I had just cobbled together some old, inferior version. She'd still feel safe. She had to attend the meeting, of course, to keep up appearances. The next morning, the main boardroom was packed. The senior client team was on one side, looking skeptical. Our executive team was on the other. And in a chair near the back, trying to look small, was Brenda. She gave me a little, pitying smile as I walked to the head of the table. The CEO began with a somber apology for the technical difficulties and the catastrophic data loss incident. He then said, however, through sheer heroic effort, our project lead has managed to restore the core materials. All eyes were on me. I took a deep breath, plugged in my thumb drive, and the projector whirred to life. The first slide was not the Apex project title. It was a stark white slide with simple black text. Project Integrity and Data Security, a real-time case study. A confused murmur went through the room. My boss shot me a questioning look. Brenda froze. Good morning, everyone, I began, my voice steady and clear. The Apex project presentation is ready to go. It is, in fact, 100% intact, thanks to a robust, multi-layered personal backup strategy one maintained. The CEO's eyebrows shot up. But before we dive into that, I continued, I agree it's imperative we understand the technical difficulties. Because it wasn't a server failure. It was an act of deliberate, malicious sabotage. And I can tell you who did it, how and why. The room went dead silent. I clicked to the next slide. It was the timeline. I calmly walked them through Thursday's events. The praise, the offer to help, Then I clicked again. The server logs appeared on screen, with Brenda's username, workstation ID, and the timestamp. Thursday, 5:47 p.m. I had highlighted the delete command in glowing red. At 5:47 p.m. on Thursday, I narrated, a mass delete command was executed on the Apex folder by user b.davis. I made sure to use her full username. Brenda's face went from pale to ghostly white. I clicked again. To ensure the files couldn't be restored, the network recycle bin was then purged. The log for that action filled the screen. I clicked again, and for the final touch, a data shredding script was executed on the directory. The forensic analysis appeared on screen. The evidence was irrefutable, laid out with cold, clinical precision. I let the slide hang there. The entire room was staring at it, then at Brenda. The CEO's face was a mask of thunderous rage. I slowly turned my head and looked directly at Brenda. Her whole body was trembling. I advanced to my final slide. It was blank except for a single, large question mark. The evidence speaks for itself, I said, my voice ringing with authority. This was a calculated attempt to destroy 2 years of work, sabotage a multi-million-dollar client relationship, and end my career. I turned my gaze back to her. Brenda, do you have anything you'd like to add? The silence that followed was the loudest sound I've ever heard. Brenda just sat there, mouth opening and closing silently like a fish. She was completely and utterly exposed. It was our CEO who finally broke the spell. He didn't shout. His voice was terrifyingly calm, quiet, and full of ice. Brenda, he said, without taking his eyes off her. My office. Now. He then looked at the 2 security guards who were always posted in the lobby. Please escort Ms. Davis to my office, and then wait with her while she gathers her personal belongings. She will be leaving the premises immediately. It wasn't a shouting match. It was an execution. Her career at the company was over, and everyone in that room had just witnessed it. She was marched out of that boardroom like a criminal, a security guard on each arm, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. As the door closed behind her, the CEO turned to the client team, his professionalism clicking back into place. Ladies and gentlemen, I am profoundly embarrassed and sorry that you had to witness that internal matter. I can assure you this is not how we operate. He then looked at me, and his expression softened. What you've just seen is the result of one person's criminal actions and another employee's incredible foresight. I believe we owe her the floor. The clients were stunned, but also weirdly impressed. The lead client partner actually smiled. Well, he said, I don't think we'll have to worry about project security with you at the helm. Please proceed. I switched to the real presentation, and I nailed it. All the nervous energy was gone, replaced by the righteous fire of vindication. We didn't just win the contract. The client was so impressed they expanded the scope of the project on the spot. In the aftermath, I was the hero of the hour. I got a formal apology from the board, a bonus that was double what I'd expected, and the promotion to vice president was made effective immediately. My paranoia about backups became company legend. Within a month, IT rolled out a new mandatory data resilience protocol, a system designed by me. As for Brenda, her future was deleted far more thoroughly than my files had been. The company pursued a civil lawsuit against her for damages. From what I heard, it was financially devastating, but the real damage was to her reputation. The story spread like wildfire. Our industry is smaller than you'd think, and word of a public takedown backed by forensic evidence travels fast. No reputable agency would go near her. Her attempt to erase my career resulted in the complete annihilation of her own. The last I heard, she was working in a completely different field in some low-level admin job. I never felt a shred of guilt. My revenge wasn't emotional. It was cold, factual, and executed with the same meticulous precision she had failed to account for. She thought she was playing checkers, not realizing I was playing chess. I had her in checkmate from the moment she hit delete. And that's the story of how my coworker's attempt to erase me from the company ended up wiping her own future off the map. It's a brutal story, but it's a testament to the fact that you should never, ever underestimate the quiet, organized one in the corner. We're the ones who keep receipts. We're the ones who have backups for everything, including a plan for when people try to tear us down. She lit the match, but I was holding the gasoline. What did you think? Was it justified? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have your own story of workplace justice, I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more pro revenge stories every single week. Thanks for watching.